Recently on the Wayspotters podcast, you heard my dad say,
if you get a Snickers bar and throw it in the water and then point to it, people will get out of the pool and you can take your picture. Then you can go down and go, oh, it's just a Snickers bar, crisis averted.
Hello, agents, trainers, keepers, pilots, eighth wallers, scouts, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode number 195 of the Wayspotters podcast. Here at Wayspotters, we want to do everything we can to help you become a better wayfinder. As we've always said, we want to educate, entertain, and excite. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokémon Professor Network and our friends at Pickaxe. And today is Saturday, October the 4th, 2025. I'm Jamal, and I'm here with my good friend Chris. What's up, my guy?
Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Man, I'm excited today. I'm doing great. It's Saturday. I am not doing anything on a honey-do list, at least right now. And we have two guests on the show. How does that sound to you, Chris?
I'm excited for this. It's been a hot minute since we had a guest on, so
yeah, it has been a hot minute. So today we are going to be taking everybody back to the days when they first started Wayfarer, when we were all confused by the rules and people were telling us tips and tricks, and it felt like we were drinking from a fire hose. So we're going to go all the way back. So everybody listening, remember your first 2-3 months of Wayfarer, and that's what we're going to get in today. But before we do that, we're going to go to the news.
And now, the latest Niantic spatial and Scopely news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokemon Professor Network.
The Recon website updated, and it had links that looked like it should work. When you clicked on it, it gave you an error. I tried like a dozen times. I was like so excited I could see my Recon stuff, but nothing works. And now it's back to the standby scout. Your mission will start again soon. Like so, I think someone pushed a button when they shouldn't have pushed a button. It updated the UI.
Niantic cat.
Niantic, yeah. So we're back to soon. The email, you should have your emails by now. I don't have mine yet. It is October 4th. By the time you're listening to this, you really should have your email by now. If you don't, reach out to the Niantic team.
I can't believe you don't have yours yet.
Yeah, did you get yours?
I got mine. Yeah, I got mine.
There's a few people on the forums who have posted that they still don't have theirs, so I'm gonna give it to the end of the day before I push the panic button. So,
right,
we'll see. That's all I got.
All right. So, as I said at the top of the show, we have two new friends of the show. So these two people will always be referred to as friend of the show. I'm going to introduce the first one. Patrick goes by Spacebar from Boston, Massachusetts, a Wayfarer since this July of 2025, Pokemon Go player since day one, with kind of a three-year break kind of in between after COVID. And fun fact, is a top 1% of Taylor Swift listeners every year. And if you're listening to this, Taylor Swift has just dropped a new album, and the world is going crazy right now. By the time you hear this, the album's been out for a little over a week. But I would like to introduce Spacebar. Spacebar, say hello to the Wayspotters audience.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. Next, we have Darker Solstice. They are from the suburbs of Chicago. They have been active in Wayfarer since 2025. Their first Wayspots from 2021. They've been playing Pogo since 2016. Ingress, really active for a while, around 2015 to 2022. Resistance forever. Co-resistance. Fun fact, they work anime conventions in their spare time and are the safety manager for Anime Milwaukee 2026. So welcome to the show, Darker Solstice.
Great to be on.
Thank you two for joining us. We're going to get ready to jump right into this. So before we go into topic number one, Wayfarer is a game about building community and putting points of interest on the map. for your friends, for your family, for your community to interact with. So over the course of the last 7-8 years, I've seen and interacted with a lot of POIs. So Chris, if you don't mind, can you bring up that image of the very first POI that I nominated? This would have been nominated through OPR. A lot of you don't even know what OPR is. You will soon, but it was Operation Portal Recon. And it was the system that we all used before Wayfarer came along. So what you're seeing here on the screen for our audio, for our video listeners, is Christian Life Baptist Church. And it's a Baptist church that's right down the street from my house. And if you guys have listened to the show, you've heard me say that literally I can stretch my arms out in all directions and point at a Baptist church that's less than a mile or a kilometer from my house, because I live in Charlotte. I live in the South, and you trip over Baptist churches in Charlotte. You just can't drive down any main street without seeing one. So this was my very first nomination, and I upgraded it, and it went through. And fun fact about this, Chris, I actually put the pin in the wrong spot because I really didn't know what I was doing. And the reviewers moved it to the right spot. So that's my very first nomination.
That is fantastic. Of course, it's a Baptist church. You want to pull up your stats too? Got that loaded.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull up my stats. So my stats, and this is as of a few days ago. My stats, when you look at my stats, what's interesting about this is, in order to get this, if you're watching on video, you need to have the plugin. So go to wayfarer.tools. That's wayfarer.tools, and you can get some of the plugins. The people over there from the WDD, Testo, and other people do a fantastic job of updating the plugins. But what you look at, Chris, is I have submitted a total of 1,713 things to the map. What am I running? About an 89% acceptance rate, 1160. My stats are going to be a little bit weird because I'm one of those people that is very stubborn. I don't take no for an answer. So if something gets rejected, I nominate it again. And if it gets rejected, I nominate it again. And if it gets rejected, I nominate it again. And then I usually stop at like the third or fourth time because I don't want to get like a 30-day ban. But I go out and I take a new picture. I change the description. I change the supplemental. So it's a new entity, but it's the same POI. So some people have very high stats. I don't really care about this. I just care about it getting on the map. So,
yeah.
What about you, Chris?
So
talk to us about your stuff.
This is my first nomination. It is the dog park in that park in Plattsburgh that I've probably mentioned on the show way too many times. This picture is so bad. It's just every time I look back at these nominations, because it was November, right? Like Wayfarer had just dropped into Pogo, and I trudged through the snow after dropping off my kids to take all these pictures, and they're just so bad. And like none of them have been replaced, which is hilarious to me. But yeah, here it is. This is one of several. And let me pull up my stats real quick. I don't quite have near as many nominations as you, but I do have almost as much total stuff as you. So I'm at 1405. Because I do a lot of edits. Like I got 702 edits.
Yeah.
Right? And
nice. That's because you're the keep the map clean guy. Yes. That tracks. Yep. That tracks.
It does, absolutely. I've shown this before, right? So 171 photos, 170 of them have been accepted, and it's just that one that will forever haunt me.
Oh, that's right. I remember that one. Yeah, it's gonna haunt you forever. That's so funny.
You know what's funny is I was looking through my stuff because we were talking about our first nominations and stuff. My first ever rejection was that restaurant in Plattsburgh that I tried 6 times. That one that I wrote the article about, I did that whole show about, that I finally got in. That was my first ever rejection. My first ever experience with rejection in Wayfarer, and I did not give it up for like 6 years. So
like, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into topic number 1.
Get ready for topic number 1.
All right. So topic number one, we are going to bring in our friends. So I don't know who wants to start, but this is what I want to talk about. So Chris and I talked about the very first thing that we nominated. What I want to know from you, Solstice and Spacebar, we don't need to have a picture, but tell us about the first thing that you ever nominated. And looking back on it, do you think you would actually get approved today? So I don't know who wants to jump in first.
I'll jump in. So, as Chris said, I had one that was accepted in 2021. I had an Ingress friend from the United Chicago Resistance who power leveled me to, when I could submit. Um, but I'm going to actually talk about the first one I did in Pogo as a Wayfarer properly, and that was a mural at a smoothie bar right next to my work. It's like they lowered the level cap for submissions just as that smoothie bar opened up with that beautiful hand-painted mural from a local artist, and I said, okay, I'm getting me a desk spot.
It's awesome.
I
And
like it.
I definitely think it would be accepted again today. I've actually sent Jamal and Spacebar gifts from that mural, so they can attest that it's pretty.
Yes, I have seen it. Yeah, that's right. I liked it and I saved it in my little thing that they have. The what's it called? Why
Postcard
am I
book.
drawing a blank on it?
Scrapbook, postcards,
Postcard
journal.
book. There you go. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Spacebar, what about you? Tell us about your first nomination
My first one
ever
was
and
actually
would it be
denied.
accepted today?
We have a few ponds around here that there's small beaches. Some have large beaches, some have small beaches, and most of them have just an image of the beach. There's not a sign, and they're all in the game. So I was under the impression that that was legitimate to place into the game. So we have one right down the street from the house, and that was my first one that was submitted, and it immediately got denied by Emily, and I had no clue why it was denied. So I did the appeal, and then I tried to submit it again, and it just kept getting denied. So no, it would not get accepted today based on the picture that I had originally submitted.
So that's I'm actually glad you said that because I think that's a good place for us to start. So you said that your first nomination was rejected by Emily, and I just kind of like, oh, that's right, that's right. You were brand new. So I guess we should back up. Now that we know your first nomination, tell us, we'll stick with you, Spacebar. Tell us why, first of all, how you found out about Wayfarer and why you wanted to get involved in it to make
There's
that
a
first
local
nomination.
community, probably about 25 minutes from me, that a little bigger than than my town here. And there's one player in that town that started pretty aggressively going through that area and submitting stops or waypoints and turned into Pokestops. So I just started having conversations with him, and he actually was great trying to help me at the beginning and give me a lot of pointers, showing me pictures that he had submitted for some ideas, giving me some tips. He had, probably a couple thousand reviews at that point. And, I was sending him what I was planning to submit, and he'd give me some pointers on cropping images, making it, a straight image versus kind of something on the side that I had. So I probably would have gave up if it wasn't for his advice, kind of helping me from.
Awesome. That's great. Solstice, what about you? What made you, I know you talked about the 2021, but what made you want to come back and really jump in with both feet?
So really I was going for that desk spot, the one that I can spin while I'm working a reception type job, right next door to the smoothie place. And then I noticed that there were other things in that area that could be nominated. There was a village sign across the street. There was a plaza sign at the end of the plaza. And I live 2 miles from where I work. During the summer, it's great to walk home. So I've been passing, all the Pokestops that exist, but I wanted more. I'm greedy. Um, yeah.
That's me.
I
That's
wanted.
me. I'm greedy and I'm selfish. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's where I started, but I have definitely become more curatorial. I am the sort of person who does wiki work on the side for fun. I've been a member of the Elder Scrolls Wiki, the United Elder or unofficial Elder Scrolls pages since 2004. So, give me something to curate. I love doing reviews. I love seeing other people's stuff. And part of it is I like having really cool gifts to send people. You know, I try to pick things to nominate that I know will be really cool to send someone. Like, there's a local tattoo shop that has a mural of Salvador Dali on the wall. And I knew that I had some people who would absolutely love getting a gift from there.
That's fantastic. You're
So,
speaking right to my
things
soul.
like that.
That's
Actually, walking into the tattoo shop to ask to take a picture of that mural was like, hey, I think it helped that I recognized exactly who it was. It was Salvador Dali with his mustache and everything. And it's like, can I take a picture of your Dali? Didn't tell him what I was
At least
taking a
you
picture of
asked
it
them to take the
for.
picture.
Nice. Did they give you?
I've taken the picture.
Yeah,
I have somebody come outside,
totally.
and I'm like, oh, I'm just taking a picture so I can submit it into a game I play.
me and Jamal have both used we're Google guides. We're taking pictures for Google excuse.
Yep.
Way more times than I can count.
And everybody goes, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, when you see things on Google Images, where do you think those come from? Volunteers like me. They're like,
I'm gonna steal that
and they
going
move
forward.
out of the way.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's people look at it and go, oh, okay, and they don't question it. It's fantastic. Jamal put me out of that a while ago.
Yep.
It's so I'm gonna put this both. If you could I can't talk this morning. All right, next question. If you could wave a magic wand and instantly turn anything into a waste spot, what would it be? Dr. Souls, want to start with you?
My neighborhood is set up in such a way that I don't have anything I can do from my couch.
Mm.
So, like, the closest thing I have is a rock that is across the street next to a stop sign, and I would make that a spot just so I could spin at home. But otherwise, I don't need a magic wand. I can nominate things myself.
Bam. Mic drop.
I am
Spacebar, how about
fortunate
you?
that I've
Spacebar.
submitted a few close enough to the house at the pond that I can barely reach. So I don't need one at this point at the house. So I would like my car so that I always have a stop anywhere I go as I'm driving around. And I'd like it to be a gym. That'd be even better if it was a gym
That's
instead
a
of just
great
a stop.
answer.
Okay, but other people claiming
fine.
your car
I'll
would
take
be
it back.
embarrassing.
Just drive too far away from them so they can't get it back.
There you go.
Ah, fair.
Brilliant. I got lucky. I lived at a spot that had a gym forever, and I think I'm almost at 1,000 hours defending that gym. And then I moved to a place that's directly in the middle of 2 Pokéstops, so I can hit both from my couch. So I've gotten really lucky.
That's amazing. I don't know. I've been very fortunate also that the last couple places that I've worked have had a lot of things around them. So I shared a picture in the Discord the other day that like I can reach 4 stops from my desk at work. So when I was working from home at my previous place of employment, it sucked because I like had no gift to do anything. But now that I'm back in the office, like I have all these gifts. So I've told Chris, everybody's probably getting sick and tired of getting that moose that I send everybody out. So it's like you get the moose, you're like, oh, Jamal was in the office today. All right. So when you guys have been out exploring, what's the weirdest or most unexpected thing that you've stumbled on while you've been exploring?
So
start with
my
you, Spacebar.
first, actually, my first accepted waypoint was this place called Peter's Well. It's a historic site in town. I was just kind of wandering around. Actually, I was Googling trying to find some things that might get accepted after my first couple denials. And I went and I found this spot and just started reading about it. And it ties back to the 1600s and 1700s when there was a settlement right in that area, and it was one of the first spots in town. So it was kind of cool to learn the history about that. And obviously I have some sentimental value there where it was my first Pokéstop that made it in actually into Pokemon Go. So, but yeah, I think that was definitely cool to learn. That's kind of started, a rabbit hole, I guess, for me of trying to find different local spots or historical figures in town. And that's only been a couple months now that I've been doing it, but I've definitely learned a lot more in my town in the last about my town in the last 3 months than I did the previous 10.
I think if Niantic is listening to this, and I know, we know a handful of people listen to this, that is what they want. What you just described right there, like that could be a 30-second commercial for Niantic Wayfarer. You've lived in this town forever. You found some historical things and you've put it into their game with a cool description and a good picture. Like that's like,
Yep.
that's what they want. So that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Solstice?
I think that the most interesting was a waypoint that I found. It had already been submitted as a Pokestop. Chicago, full of museums, right? I go into the city for a figure drawing class with a friend at the local leather museum. And it is a Pokestop. And part of me is sort of surprised that it's not, adult location, because once you go inside, it is an adult location, and I'm going to leave that at that.
Okay.
But, if you walk past it outside, it's just LASM, Leather Archives and Museum. And
Okay.
so that has always fascinated me, that place is a Pokestop.
You'd be surprised. Chris and I we've seen some things, right, Chris? We've seen
Yeah.
some things.
It's all about how you sell it to the reviewers. And if you've got a bunch of people who don't necessarily know what it is, if you describe it right, again, if it's got the word museum in there, as long as you leave out the bits about it being an adult location, I would look at it and go, "Hey, it's a museum, sure, all right. It says museum on the building, I get it, accept, right?"
And it is a great archive. There's a bunch of old leather vests that Leathermen have donated to the museum. So
Nice.
That's
nice.
awesome. That is awesome.
Very nice.
Every Wayfarer has that moment where they realize, oh, so that's why my nomination got rejected. Have you guys come across that? Have you had that? I know Spacebar mentioned kind of earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Solstice, you want to go first?
We all have that YOLO swing sort of throw spaghetti at the wall way spot that we try. On the other side of my work from the smoothie shop is a physical therapy clinic. And in the front of their clinic, they have a bookshelf that's a take a book, leave a book. So I tried submitting it as a little free library because it wasn't on private property. It went into Niantic review and got rejected, and I'm not gonna appeal it, but I had to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all kind of come across things and been like, hey, I'm gonna give that a shot. And then I've had a couple of things that I've had rejected and been like, yeah, it's probably best that didn't get. I'm not even gonna poke the bear with an appeal on that one.
So for me, it was
Spacebar, what about
duplicate
you?
submissions. I was not aware of the rule that you could only have one in a cell. So I had a couple legitimate. One was a church. One was at a different location. There was a statue, and both of them got rejected. I appealed, and that's where I found out about the duplicate submissions. But I've probably had 3 or 4 rejected because of duplicate submissions, and I didn't realize at that point because what I always did was take a picture. I would take the picture and then I would go home and I would submit from home. So then I started actually looking at the site and looking at the waypoints that were previously submitted at the site. But I had no clue about that when I first started, and I had a couple denials just based off of that. So it would have been, I should have did a little more research, I guess, to start or listen to you guys before I started doing it, and that would have helped me out a little bit, knowing that to just check that in Pokemon Go before I even went any further to submit.
That is funny
Yeah,
enough. You bring that
Yeah.
up. That is one of the things that we've actually mentioned to Niantic when we've sat down with them. Is like when you're doing, especially if you're doing stuff from home later on, right? If you move the map, it won't show you the duplicates on the map if you're not right there, right? So people don't know. So it is something that they are aware of, and it's something that they kind of. Unfortunately, that's something that they need to engage the Pokemon Go team with, and they're not exactly too keen on prioritizing Wayfarer updates for Pokemon Go necessarily. Those teams do work together. It's just sometimes it's like pulling teeth for the Wayfarer team to get the Pogo team to update their app for them. So, but yeah, it is, especially now that they've announced on their roadmap that they're going to increase the submission distance. This is something that we're going to kind of have to poke them about. And I'm going to actually ask that question in the AMA when it comes out.
They did say that they were going to,
or actually, I guess
they did say that they're going to have their own map though. So I wonder if that'll have waypoints, the other waypoints that aren't actually accepted into the games. Yeah, that'd be good because you can look at that obviously at home too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the map will definitely have everything on it. So, but it'll be nice to have it in the app too. So, but yeah, it's duplicate submissions is definitely one of those things that gets a lot of people. It's nailed me a few times. So I'm gonna admit.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in topic number 2, because I want to get your 2 opinion on a couple of things, but we'll save that. So last question in kind of our getting to know you section in topic number 1 is, if you could invent a new rejection reason that reviewers could use, spacebar, what would it be?
Some way to give them like a note of this would be accepted if it wasn't for this. Like a dog in the background or a person that's in the background. I'm not nitpicky that if they're like way in the background, they have to really zoom in to find them. But if they're, close enough, and I think that similar to myself, just early on, not knowing those things, I just don't think there's enough. And I know they can't have a million different reasons why you're rejecting, but even if there was just some way to just give a little bit more detail of that this was denied, but just fix this and resubmit. So just for someone to know, because you just get a denial and you're, unless you try to resubmit, which I didn't even know until 3 days ago that you could even resubmit the same waypoint. So I've got a couple that I'll go back and try again. But yeah, it would be great to be able to just have an option like, please resubmit this because you just need to.
What about you?
So I've got 2 things, both, I currently reject under permanent and distinct, and I would love to have a separate button for them. And these are things that I pop up in my reviews constantly. The first is that average traffic sign is not a trail marker, no matter how often you put trail marker in the title. And the other is literally who, by which I mean, you have failed to establish the significance of the person memorialized. I hate seeing a supporting information that's just RIP or need more Pokéstops. I saw a memorial the other day that was amazing. It was for a mailman, and it was a mailbox, and they actually had a link to information on this guy, Mike Martinez Jr. Like, I had enough information that I remember his name.
That's great. You are making Chris very happy this episode. There's been several times where we've got a visceral reaction from Chris. I think you're his new favorite friend. You're like simpatico. You guys are. I think it's awesome.
I mean, you're saying things that I've been saying on this show for years. It's
which is good nice because it's like newer people. Yeah, it's good. So we're gonna actually dig into some very well. We're going to see how specific we get, but let's go ahead and jump right into topic number 2.
Saramanda. Don't forget about topic number 2.
Okay, so for topic number 2, we're going to have a good old-fashioned conversation, something that we don't do enough of in this world. We want to kind of discuss some things, and I put down some topics in our show notes of things that I kind of want to talk about. But I really want Solstice and Spacebar, I really want to hear more from you than Chris or I here, because we brought you on because you are experts. Now, you might be brand new, but being brand new makes you an expert. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I just look over because I've been doing it for a while. So I'll give you kind of a for instance before I throw it to you. So if you guys listen to the show, Addison just turned 16, and she's got her permit, and she's, learning how to drive to get her license. And when I'm driving with her, there's things that I notice that I don't even notice when I'm driving. I'm, turn the radio up, got my arm out the window, and I'm driving, but she's like, Dad, there's a pedestrian right there, and they're about to cross the street. And, she's pointing out all these things she's learned in driver's ed that, like, I'm just oblivious to. I see it and I internalize it, but I don't call it out. And she's saying these things, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't notice that. And so when I was thinking about putting this show together, I was thinking being a passenger in the car with a brand new driver can be kind of synonymous to a brand new wayfarer who doesn't know about OPR. They've never done this without Emily, or very little time without Emily. Um, all of the new advanced, the criteria is there. When Chris and I started, there was no criteria. It was, if it's a gazebo, it's a 4. If it's this, it's a 5. And there was just very little things to kind of guide you. And I think now a Wayfarer comes in with a little bit better of an idea of what they're supposed to do. But I want to just throw out some topics, and I want the conversation to kind of go where it is. So generic business, locations, especially restaurants, coffee shops, POIs and apartment complexes or gated communities, trail markers, generic signs, neighborhood signs, and then S2 sales. So pick one of those topics or pick something completely different. Solstice, I know you had something that you are chomping at the bit to talk about. So if you want to start with that, and then Spacebar, I know there was something you wanted to talk about also. But I just want to have a conversation about kind of the state of Wayfarer as the two of you see it versus how Chris and I and a lot of other people see it from doing it for a while. So I'll kick it over to you, Solstice, to get us started.
You mentioned Emily, and as I said right before the show started, Emily was down when I started reviewing. So I got a heck ton of coal. I, saw a ton of absolutely trash nominations, at schools or, um, you know, apartment complex signs and things like that. And I am very much a firm believer that it is the reviewer's job to make the case for things like memorial benches, neighborhood signs. If you're not putting effort into your supplemental information, I am the sort of person who will toss a neighborhood sign. And I know, Jamal, that's going to make you sad, but I do believe that there are really good neighborhood signs out there. I saw one the other day, and I think you have the image for this one, Jamal. The Gladys.
I do, yes. Do we have that one, Chris?
It's in the images for the show channel.
Yeah, hold on one second.
And this is my gold standard for a neighborhood sign. The neighborhood
yes.
is...
So what you don't know is that was Waste Spot of the Week on last week's show, which hasn't actually aired yet. That's why, yeah. So by the time people are watching and listening to this, we featured that as Waste Spot of the Week last week. So yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
But that is my gold standard for a neighborhood sign. If you don't Jamal up the supplemental, or if you don't have something to explain who the neighborhood is named after, I don't care about it. You have not given me a reason that that's a place to explore, and I'm gonna trash it.
Solstice, just say it. You're Team Chris. Just go ahead and say it. You're Team Chris. And nobody will fault you for that.
I am a curatorial soul. I am really
That means you're Team Chris.
Yes. But I think that Jamaling up a neighborhood description is a valid way to get it in. Don't just give me need more Pokéstops.
And what
I'm
about
Team
you,
Jamal
Spacebar?
here. I want as many points of interest as I can get everywhere near me. Not junk. Like when you talk about general businesses, if
Let's
it's a tire shop
go.
and there's nothing that to me shouldn't be in the game. But restaurants that attract the community, I have no issue with that. I've submitted a bunch, and my area around here has been really good. I haven't had any of those rejected. I put a lot of effort into my supplemental information. I probably spend way too much time. I feel like the ones that I have put a ton of information, owners, names, and some links, and any information for relevance to the town or community work that they do. I feel like those get through in a day or two. So I'm all for adding anything we can, as long as it's not just a legitimate generic business that's not adding any social engagement or community involvement. But I'm gonna try and get every single restaurant or coffee shop or ice cream shop or anything that I have in this area. I'm trying to get them all on the game as a stop.
I am with you on restaurants. There's a restaurant 5 minutes from me. It's been open since 1951. It's the Neighborhood Fish Shack, and it has two Pokestops, one for the hand-painted sign and one for the restaurant itself. And, I am all for that. But I found that it's really hard for me to get restaurants in this area, even with links. So I found that you have to find something artful on the outside of the restaurant to submit instead of the restaurant itself. Um, there's a wine bar that I pass on my walk home from work, and it has an outdoor dining pavilion. I've been able to get the pavilion, but not the restaurant itself.
Get me started on
Now,
restaurants.
I was going to say,
Get me started
we've
on
done 3
restaurants.
shows. What, 3 shows, Chris?
3.
On restaurants? Yeah, so Chris is the restaurant guy. So I'm with you. I can't tell you how many art inside of Taco Bell I've gotten on the map. And it's there's a Taco Bell, like literally if I'm sitting at my desk, if I walk out of my building, cross over like this little area where there's some bushes, there's a Taco Bell there. And inside of the Taco Bell, they've got like this local jazz thing that when they built the Taco Bell, there was some local jazz musician that had some connection to Taco Bell. And there's like a little mural of him inside of the store. So I'm like, hey, this is going in. And this was like literally on my second day at my new job. So now I have the Taco Bell thing there to spin. So it's a Taco Bell, but it's a mural inside of a Taco Bell. So it's all about creativity. And I love what both of you said. Now, Spacebar, you're my guy. We're kindred spirits. Like Chris can have Solstice. It's me and you, Spacebar. Like we are, and you're wearing a Dale Jr. hat.
Kyle Busch, not
I'm like,
Dale,
come
sorry.
on, let's go. So,
Same number, same team.
oh, either way, okay. Here's the deal. This is not a NASCAR podcast, but I live in NASCAR country. I don't hate Kyle Busch like everybody in the world does. Everybody hates Kyle Busch. I don't. Anyhow, the number 8's a very special number in NASCAR. But I'm with you. I want a lot of things on the map. So while we're on this kind of hot button issue, Solstice told us how they felt about neighborhood signs. Now, given that you're brand new, Spacebar, what's your opinion on neighborhood signs? Do you include it or not? And if you've
I'm
done
all
any or
for
not?
neighborhood signs as long as there's some sort of relevance. Any relevance, you can get me to approve the neighborhood sign. You just have to put a little. When I'm reviewing them, you just have to put a little bit of effort. But I won't deny. I'll skip. I'm a very big skip person when I'm reviewing. I don't unless it's blatant. If it's something on the fence, and I'm like, oh, if you put a little more effort in there, I would have approved this. I'll skip it. But I'm for neighborhood signs. You just have to get some history to the town, how long it's been around, or some sort of relevance. A lot of the ones near me have ties to either historic families or events that have happened. So those are the ones that I've tried submitting. I haven't tried submitting just complete generic ones yet. I will. Sorry, Chris, but I'm all for the signs. You just have to put some effort into trying to get them into the game.
Well, I'm all for
Jamal,
signs. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to change the topic slightly. You were talking about the Taco Bell art. Do you guys have Raising Cane's near you, the chicken finger chain?
There are no Raising Cane's in Charlotte. There's some that are coming, but there's none that are here now.
Well, when they come, go inside and look to see if there is a painting by the artist Steve Coe. He is the corporate portrait artist for Raising Cane's, and he's a member of the Portrait Painter Society of America. There's an Elvis painting in my local Cane's, so I was able to get a Pokestop there.
Interesting.
Wait, he's a member of what? Say that again. The portraits. What is it called?
The Portrait Artists of America, or Portrait Painter Society of America, or something.
Today I
linked
learned.
to
I'm gonna
his
have
website.
to go look that up.
I linked to his website, noting his awards when I was submitting the waypoint for the Elvis painting inside my local Raising Cane's.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that.
Firehouse subs are the same way. There's a unique mural on the inside of every Firehouse subs, at least around here.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there are in Charlotte also. All right. So next thing is I want to talk about trail markers a little bit because that's a big deal on the forum. And I'll lay it out like this. I think every I'll say I think most wayfarers are okay with trail markers. Some people get a little agitated when you nominate every trail marker and they say they're not unique and distinct. Where I come down on that is every trail marker is a different part of a trail. 1/4 of a mile, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, 1.2 miles, or 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. They're all individual marking part of a trail. I have no problem nominating every single one, but that gets a little contentious on the forums and on the WDD. Spacebar, we'll start with you. Tell me what you think about trail
I
markers and kind of
I
how
have
it
no
laid that
problem
out.
with the trail markers. I think when they have when it's distinct, when it's just 10 arrows spaced 100 feet apart and it's just an arrow going straight on each one, I don't love those ones. But when it has a distinct mile or obviously the name ones on there, I have no issue with that. The only thing that annoys me is when someone goes through and nominates like 20 of them, and I'm doing reviews and it's back to back to back that I'm just seeing them, or every 10 reviews I'm seeing those. Just spread them out so I have no issue if I open, the nearby on the map and there's a bunch of distinct or markers in there, I'm approving it. But I just don't like having them back to back. And I know I'm nitpicking there, but just spread them out a little bit so it doesn't look like you're just dumping 20 of them all at the exact same time in the exact same spot. So, but I told you I'm all for getting anything we can that's legitimate into the game in my eyes, and I think distinct trail markers where it's at least like you mentioned a different part of the trail. I just don't love when it's just straight arrows.
Solstice, what about you?
I love trail markers. I absolutely will pass, any trail marker that is a legitimate trail marker. The issue is I live in suburban sprawl, so you'll get people nominating bike route signs as bike trail marker number 19, and it's like, no, that is a bike route sign. That is not a trail marker. There are legitimate bicycle bikeways in this area, and those are great for nominating. They've got even mileposts, but just because a traffic sign mentions bicycling, it is not a bike trail. And that's where I really, really get frustrated. People seem to think that adding the words trail marker to any nomination makes it legit.
Right. We're gonna in the next couple of weeks, we may or may not be talking about street corners. So I think that kind of goes I knew that would get Chris's reaction from there. So I'll leave that at that. We need to do a little more research, but Niantic is doing a test where they're putting in POIs that are just street corners. So I don't know. Anyhow,
France,
I don't want to
Italy, and
get
Spain, I think.
yes, France, Italy, and Spain. I don't want to get off topic on that because I want to keep the focus on you guys. Um, all right. What I want to know, I want to talk about S2 sales for a second. So Chris and I, we didn't talk about S2 sales for years. I mean, up until like about maybe 3 months ago. But we've kind of opened that can of worms. So as a new explorer, as a new wayfinder, when was the first time, Spacebar, I'll start with you. When was the first time you heard the phrase S2 sales? What did that mean to you? And
It
what
was
did
when
you
I
do with
first
that
started
information?
submitting. It was mainly because of the player that was helping me try to submit at first. Gave me all the background on the S14s and S17 cells. Not enough that I fully paid attention, I think, to for the duplicate submissions there. But I I think I got obsessed with them day one. Once he started telling me about them, we didn't have a lot of gyms in our area, so my goal really was to add as many as I could, obviously legitimate waypoints that would try to get as many gyms as we could, you know, anywhere in this town, or I'm going a couple towns over at this point because I've hit enough. But I heard about them pretty early on, and I think that helped me try to focus on what to look for and where to. Did a lot of driving around in certain areas based on those cells, trying to find something in a specific area to submit. So, but yeah, I think having that knowledge completely changed how I approached it at first, and now I'm just looking for anything I can find, anything at all that I'm either driving by and like we'll be driving down the street. I did it last weekend. I think I sent in the Discord. We're driving down the street. We're going to the movies, and I'm looking. And I'm like above a restaurant that I've driven by probably thousands of times, and I just see the ice cream cone weather vane at the top as we're driving through. I'm like, all right, that's going to be a Pokestop. So, the next day I drove up there, grabbed a picture, submitted it, and it got approved and into the game. So,
Did S2 cells make sense to you, or
it
did
made
it
sense.
frustrate you?
I, I had someone explaining it though. I think if I was just trying to, like, if I just read about it, I probably would have been confused and not fully understand what it was. Even it helped having someone specifically sit there and show me on a map. All right, this is an S. This is the S2. This is the S14, and this is the S17, and this is what you need to do. And they explained, your two gyms in this area. Sorry, two stops in this area gets you a gym, and then 6, and then 20. So I think having that dedicated person to help me through that made it make sense. I don't think it would have at all if I just Googled and tried to figure it out.
Okay, Solstice, let's go to you. Same question. When did you first hear about S2 cells, and what did that mean to you? What did you do with the information?
So when I started submitting, I started researching everything, reading the forums, listening to this podcast. So S2 cells were something that I learned about really early on. And why that mattered for me is Chicago is a city on the lake, and then there's two major roads that lead northwest out toward the northwest suburbs. There's Rand Road, and then there's Northwest Highway. And in a lot of areas, the S2 cell grid sort of goes on the east-west line as long as you're not further up towards the poles. But because of the roads being slanted, they cut through the S2 cells really neatly, so you can find places where you can get 3 waypoints right on the same, corner because the roads are slanted. So it's really been neat for me to, look at what I can get away with because my roads aren't a pure east-west grid.
And when you did the S2 cells, did they frustrate you, or did they make sense to you?
No, they make sense to me. I think that it's actually a really cool mapping system. Um, a lot of my original, nomination area right by work wasn't fleshed out very well, so I was able to make that very first waypoint I nominated a gym because there would just by nominating a second waypoint in the S17.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I find it really cool. But again, I am a research nerd. I'm a curatorial person. I'm someone who went out and sought the information in a way that I don't think a lot of wayfarers do when they're starting out.
Right. So there's a lot of good resources out there. And I say this often because it doesn't get mentioned enough. Chris does a lot of writing for GoHub, and he's written several articles on GoHub. So if you guys haven't been on PokemonGoHub.net, you should go and look for Chris's articles. He's written a lot of good articles, and there's one he's written that just gets hits and hits and hits and hits and hits because it's a fantastic article. But I really like the fact that you two have gone out and searched the information. I think if you're on the forum, you see a lot of the first time posters, people are just, I don't want to say clueless because the information is not out there. It's just not out there unless you go seek it. But you went out to seek the information and found it. So I think that's really awesome because I think S2 cells really frustrate a lot of people. And they don't understand, why is my POI not showing up on the map? I did exactly what it said to do on the app. I did everything I needed to do and it didn't show up. And they're like, what do you mean it's too close to something else or it's not in its own cell? So I think there's a lot of confusion around S2 cells. But it's comforting for Chris and I to know that newer people are out there looking for the information. Now, Chris, I don't know if you want to put a cap on that.
It's I got lucky when I first started because when I moved to Plattsburgh, that's when I started with GoHub. And when they announced Wayfarer was coming out, I did the articles for doing the articles, I did research and it came across the S2 cells. So I had all that information at my fingertips before I started, just kind of by default, right? And over the years, I think my position has slowly kind of changed, and I'm starting to understand why Niantic doesn't talk about S2 cells and the inclusion rules for Pogo. and I really hate to say this, but I'm starting to kind of move to the dark side on this, and I understand why they're not, and like I get it, and I wish that there was a way for that information to be readily available to to new Wayfarers in a way that they don't have to go look for it. But I understand why it's not. So I've seen a lot of things lately in my reviews that now that they've lowered the level cap again, that I can tell are coming from first-time Wayfarers. And it's like, you shouldn't be doing this, but I understand why you are, right? So like it's frustrating. I wish, yeah, I don't know. I get it.
All right, I want to jump into. I'm going to save some time here for the two of you to kind of get on your soapbox, get something off of your proverbial chest. But I want to go to the forum for a second. So I think we're very lucky as Wayfinders to have the forum. Pokemon Go doesn't have a forum. Ingress has something on Reddit or Reddit, and also on oh god, WhatsApp. Is it WhatsApp, Chris, where Ingress has another forum or something? Anyways, but we're lucky as Wayfinders that we have our own forum that's curated by actual Niantic / Scopely employees, and they'll chime in and they'll say this. So can each of you, and we'll go with Solstice on this one first, can each of you tell us what your initial experiences have been like on the forum, and is there anything that you would change?
I don't go on the forum as much as most people. I mostly lurk and read. Um, there's a lot of old hands on the forum who established personalities and, people who will jump in and, say something when something needs to be said. So I'm mostly using the forum as a resource to read rather than a tool for communication.
Same. I
Fair.
don't think I've ever posted
Spacebar?
on the forum. I lurk there as well. I read, pretty much any new posts on there, especially ones that the Niantic team posts. But it's a good resource. I think that helped me kind of earlier on of understanding some of the um, issues with like the duplicate submissions, things that weren't getting accepted for that I was trying to get into the games. So it was good to read those, but it also is confusing, I think, too, when you're first if you don't know the information and you're going on there and people are posting like you mentioned, I submitted this, it's not in the game, what's going on? And you're like, yeah, me too, what's happening here? So until if you're only reading that first post and you don't go back after Niantic or an ambassador has responded there, you could just kind of rally yourself up in your brain of, I agree with all these people that are saying that there's something wrong. So but it's a great resource going on, as long as you're, like I said, just following up with the posts and seeing what the replies are, not just the initial post of somebody saying making.
Now, I've told Chris that I want to do a show on the forum, but I want to make sure it's respectful. But I've told Chris this, and I've told people in our Discord this. I think the forum is great. I love it. But then again, I've been doing this forever. If I was a new person, I would be very intimidated by the forum because, as you said, Solstice, there's certain personalities on the forum, without calling anybody out, that I've told Chris, oh, look at this post. I bet you so-and-so is going to say something. And then so-and-so says something. There's just certain characters and roles people play that if I was a new person and I get the banner that says, please welcome so-and-so with their first submission, I cringe because I'm like, oh no, he's going to get it. She's going to get it. They're going to get it. Someone's going to land to this person because they don't know they just said a buzzword that they should not have said. And it just makes me cringe. So
I saw
I
one
would
yesterday. Someone used the word gatekeeping, and it just set off a bomb.
You can't say
There
that
you
word
go.
on there. It attracts the flies. It's bad.
Yeah, it does. That's my one thing that I would, and I've said this to people, powers that be, that when you see that banner, that this is the first time someone's posted, there should only be a handful of people that should be allowed to respond right away, because that's the quickest way to turn someone off from coming back to the forum, because they just got blasted because they were trying to articulate something and they didn't know the right language to use.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I wouldn't say a lot. There's a small handful of people on the forum who like to speak from what they consider to be a position of knowledge that don't have the knowledge that necessarily they think they have.
Yes.
And I'm going to leave it.
What I love, and I am such a troll. I love it when there's this whole argument going on, and then Niantic Aaron or LC or Atlas comes in and gives the answer. And it's like completely opposite to what these people have been saying for the last 2 days. Aaron's like, actually, this is what's going on. And I always give it 100% or a fire or something. And I'm just kind of like, if you just chill and wait for Aaron to see it, he's going to give you the answer. So there's all this speculation and people are doing all this, kibitzing and all this stuff. And then Aaron says the answer. And it's like, I kind of thought that would be the answer anyway, but everybody wants to dig into their position. And it's like some of those posts, I wish there was a way to block everybody but a Niantic employee from answering, because the person just wants an answer to their question. I think that's the most frustrating thing, when you just want an answer. You don't want to debate. You just want to know, hey, what's the answer to my question? That's the answer. Okay, great. Whether I agree with the answer or I don't agree with the answer, I've got the answer. But we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and someone's going to bring up all this stuff, and it's like, just answer my dang question. So come on.
Isn't the AMA going to be for that, where just Niantic can answer the questions?
Oh, yeah, theoretically, but I get Chris, mark it down. There's going to be 5,000 threads of discussion on the answer after Niantic gives it, of people telling you why you're right and they're right and you're wrong.
So what's going to happen is people are going to post the questions on the AMA thread, and then other people are going to go in and answer those questions on the question thread. And I wish there was a way for them to create a thread that you could post to that people can't reply to. Right?
Yes.
Just questions. That's all I want. I want just questions, because people are going to post questions, and then people are going to try and reply with their answers. Be like, no, I don't want your answer. I want Niantic to answer this. Right? And that's the whole point. And then there's going to be questions on there that I could answer from a position of knowledge, having spoken to people at Niantic, having doing this for 9 years, right? That I could answer that. I'm not going to, because they're not asking me. But other people will step in and be like, oh, I know the answer, so I'm just going to save Niantic some time and just type out a bunch of answers, and then some of those answers are going to be wrong. And it's depending on how they do it. Like, if they say, hey, email us the questions, great, cool, hands off. But if they just say, hey, post them in this thread, then it might devolve into something that it doesn't, and it's going to be bad.
Oh, it'll be good for content.
It'll be good.
I think that's part of the reason why I haven't posted anything on there, because I don't want to deal with all of the replies if I have a question. Like, the Discord group's been great. I mean, I've asked a bunch of questions in there, and then obviously our local community here that's helped me out. So it's like people that those are good communities to help with questions. Not that there aren't good people on the forum, but I don't want to deal with all of the people that are going to attack based on something that they believe shouldn't be in the game, or pictures.
Yeah,
right.
see, when you say the Discord, I think both Discords, both the Pokemon Professor Network podcast Discord and the WDD. The WDD has been my main stomping ground for talking to people and communicating. And like, a lot of it is the same crowd as the forum, but it doesn't feel the same in terms of dogpiling.
Yes, we love the WDD. We've had people from the WDD, some of their admins on here a couple times. We're probably due for a new WDD episode, Chris. I think we've probably done one every year. So, but that's a great resource. And you're right. It is a lot of the same crowd, but they respond in a very different way. And then our Discord, like you mentioned, thank you for that. We've got a lot of ambassadors that are members of our Discord. And you notice they will give you the same answer, but in a different format in our Discord. I like to think that our Discord is very, very, very untoxic because Chris and I police it that way. As I told you guys prior to the show, I don't like all that toxicity. I just want to get along and have fun. I do this as a hobby. I don't do this to like argue with people. That's what I do on the podcast, but I don't do it in the Discord. So, I just appreciate, like, if someone comes in our Discord and says, hey, I have a question, I'm going to do my best to answer the question. So is Chris. So are the Ambos that are in there. So are the longtime people that are in there. You're not going to get this whole soliloquy, that's my big word for the episode, of why I think X, Y, or Z. Just answer the dang question and move on, and then we're good. I think that's why when our Discord gets together at big events, we're all friends because we are all trying to help each other and not try to show you how smart I think I am, so.
I
Right
also
after
think the
you
way,
use the big word.
right, yeah. Jamal's got a big word every episode. I think I might start turning them into a short with the definitions and stuff. It'd be good for I think the Wayfarer discussion Discord has been around for so long that people have been in there for so long that if someone comes in to try and start trouble, they just get instantly taken care of, and it's just shut down, and they just kind of slink away and never go back, right? So I think that's kind of, the forums are fairly newer and they have a little bit less policing in that, but I think they're really, really, really good about shutting down anything that's not kosher in the Wayfarer discussion Discord in a way that's super quick, because there's so many people in that Discord that have just been doing this for longer than
ever.
Than a lot of people have even known what the word Wayfarer meant, right? So it's such a good resource for people, and we shout it out as often as we can.
Yep. All right, so before we go to One's Gotta Go, I teased this before. I want to give Spacebar and Solstice. I know the two of you have been thinking about this episode since we started planning it, and you had some things that were near and dear to your heart. I want to give you the next little bit to kind of go off and just talk about things that you either see are going really well for Wayfarer or going really not well for Wayfarer, or personal things that you want to talk about submitting. I just want to give you the floor uninterrupted, and I'm flipping my proverbial coin, and we'll start with Solstice because I think you had a hot take. So we'll go with you.
I've given most of my takes. The memorial stuff is really my bugbear. I like having good gifts to send. I don't like sending gifts from memorials, honestly. They're great to spin, but I will delete the gifts from a memorial if I don't know who the person is. The one gift from a memorial that I send regularly is the John and, wait, I can find the name of it. The Hints Memorial, which is dedicated to the people whose farm became the area area of the suburb that I play most in. And it's like, that is a person who is recognizable, that is a person whose name is on a street in the area. I want to send that, but I don't want to send Uncle Bob. I don't want to send Mary who baked the cookies at the church. I want to send gifts that are cool murals, that are neat pictures, that are interesting, and that my friends will find cool. So that's just me. I'm not saying that those are bad Pokéstops, especially if you can justify who the person is. I just don't like them.
That's it. You just convinced me, right? And I think that's the thing that a lot of people fail to do is, if you sell it to me, I'll buy it. I want to buy it. But if you don't put any effort into selling it to me.
So many people just put RIP in the supporting information. And that feels so disrespectful to the person who is being memorialized, Yep. Or they talk about how the park is a great place to visit and how people will find more, reason to visit if they have a Pokéstop. And that doesn't justify making that bench a reason to visit that park.
Yep. I said this on the show before, and I will say it again. I'm sorry, but your grandma's not notable. Unless Tell me why your grandma's notable.
Right.
Yeah, you nailed it.
I got two
Spacebar,
things,
your
a
turn.
positive and a negative. I think the negative is on the side of like little libraries. We were chatting about it, I think, in the Discord the other day. I didn't understand the first couple that I submitted that Niantic considered the space private property right up to the sidewalk. It doesn't matter where it is. And I think that frustrates me even now because there's a lot of good little libraries that are in the area that you can touch from the sidewalk, from the street, but it's a foot and a half onto the grass and it gets denied every time. I keep submitting them. I'm hoping that, some of them get through at some point. I'll probably, now that I know I can resubmit, I'll take some new pictures and try to get one. There was one that I sent that's a Hot Wheels one. It's got a, side on the right that has Hot Wheels and then it's got the regular little library on it. And I thought that was awesome. And I submitted that and you could touch that from the street and it got denied. I appealed it and it got denied. And I didn't understand it even with the appeal, that it was because of the fact that they consider it right to the street. And then that's where I don't know if you guys mentioned it or I found it somewhere online. And that's where I was like, all right, well, that makes a lot more sense that these keep getting denied, even though you could touch them or I could touch them because I'm a giant. So I guess that's my negative, but I would say the positive. I just enjoy at this point trying to add things to the game. I know we have a very small community here. There's a bigger one, like I mentioned earlier, that's about 25 minutes away from here. But there's a smaller community here in town, and after the first couple, probably the first month or so that I was submitting them, and people started seeing gyms, people just started coming out for raid hours. I mean, I remember I was probably about a month in, and we had probably 20 people, which we normally get 3 to 5, 3 to 6, somewhere in that range. Not include my family that I'll drag out for raid hours, but just anyone else in the community. So it's been great, kind of hearing that feedback from them of, oh, I saw all the new stops and they're excited about the new gyms and the stops in town. And then on the other side, I was just browsing the Reddit at some point and someone made a post and everybody that was piling on him in the post, because he kept getting Pokestops denied. And I just sent them a message and I was like, hey, I was in the same boat when you started. I had someone that helped me out. So if you want any advice, let me know. I'll help out with anything I can. And he was ready to give up and he was like, no, I'm all set. I'm done here. And I waited a couple days and I sent him another message and I'm like, hey, I know you had this, but I looked up where well, I think Jamal, you said something about earlier. I was creepy and found, based on his picture, I saw the building and I looked around that building and I found a plaque that was on the building on Google. And so I sent an image to him and I said, try this. Like this is a plaque on the building. I know you're trying to get that building, but try this. And he went through it, kind of followed my advice, and we kind of talked back and forth. He's in Australia, so it's tough. He's 13 hours or so ahead, so we're kind of complete opposite schedules. But we messaged back and forth, and he got his first one accepted, and he was hooked after that. So now he's got a couple more in there. So I think it's just great, on two sides, helping the community in the area. And then obviously now trying to, he's the only person that I've kind of reached out to, but I saw his frustration in that moment. And I was like, I was there of getting those denials. Somebody helped me. So I want to help somebody out in that sense. So
That's great. I love that. I absolutely love that. Very nice. Awesome. Well, thank you both for that. I really appreciate you guys, bringing this in. And I think people who are new listeners and old listeners and new wayfinders and old wayfinders will hopefully find some value in the conversation we had today. In order to keep this moving, I know we've got a hard stop here in just a little bit. I want to bring up One's Gotta Go. So Chris, let's put the jingle and get ready for One's Gotta Go.
One's gotta go. One gotta go. One gotta go, y'all. One gotta go. Wait, one gotta go. Yeah, this one gotta go. One's gotta go. One gotta go. One's gotta go. One gotta go. 4 items to be on the list, but one gotta go.
Okay, so this week's One's Gotta Go. I think everybody out there now knows how this works. So in the top left-hand corner, we have Stranger Things. In the top right-hand corner, we have Game of Thrones. In the lower left-hand corner, we have The Mandalorian. And in the lower right-hand corner, we have Breaking Bad. One has to go and everything with it forever. Chris, do you want to go first? Or you want to go last? I try to pick one evil because I'm trying to make it more evil on you every week.
I am going to go first.
Okay.
And I'm going to make this quick and excruciatingly painful for a group of people.
Okay.
Game of Thrones has to go.
I knew you were going to say that right away.
That is a hot take. Spacebar.
I
What do you
completely
say about
disagree.
that?
Game of Thrones is still, I understand the rush ending, still the best show that's ever been on TV. That's the one that can't go.
I'm
Well,
gonna
for
Stranger
you,
Things.
Hestig, what's your one's got to go?
They take way too long in between seasons. They've first of all, I'll say this: I'm not a big fan of young children actors. Not anything they do, they're just not great actors. And to make a show based off of them, I don't love it. And again, it's not them. That's just a me thing. I just don't, and I don't love when there's 2 or 3 years in between, and now you have an actor that's playing someone at a certain age and they're clearly 24 years old now, and you're trying to pretend they're a freshman in high school. So that one to me has to go. But Game of Thrones can't go anywhere. Chris, that's wrong.
All right, Solstice, what do you think on that?
I've never watched any of these shows. However,
okay.
However, that said, I'm an anime nerd myself. I watch TV for escapism. I think Breaking Bad's got to go because it's set in a very real world as opposed to Stranger Things where you've got, you know, the actual monsters and supernatural stuff going on. Game of Thrones really set the stage for a lot more fantasy TV coming out. The Mandalorian may not be the best Star Trek show that there is, or Star Wars show. Dear God.
We know what you meant.
But I like Star Trek in the abstract, and I would love a show from Thrawn and Eli Vanto's Academy days. That's what I'm hoping for someday. It'll never happen. They did the comic, they did the books. Thrawn and Eli Vanto are two of my favorite Star Wars characters ever. I could care less about Baby Yoda. But Breaking Bad's the one that I have done.
It's a hot take also, because a lot of people like Baby Yoda, so that's a hot take also. Okay.
I don't like Labubu's either.
I'm just now getting to know what those are. I've got teenage daughters, so I'm just now kind of understanding that whole Labubu
I grew up in the Beanie Baby craze, It's like Beanie Babies were the bubble when I was a kid.
Yeah. For me, I thought about this one. I'm gonna say so. Okay, God, I hate doing this to myself. I have never seen a full episode of Game of Thrones. I know all the memes and everything that goes with it. I feel like I know the show, but it's just not my genre. So I've never actually sat down and watched it. And when I tell people that, I get like an audible gasp. Because they're like, it was the best show on TV. I'm like, bite your tongue. Sopranos was the best show on TV, but that's neither here nor there. I never really liked any of the spin-offs of Star Wars. Like I'm like the original episodes 3, 4, 4, 5, and 6. That's me. I'm an old guy. I'm the original ones. Breaking Bad was cool. It taught me how to make meth, all kinds of cool. I'm kidding. I'm joking. But my one's got to go with Stranger Things because I just didn't get it. And maybe it's because I'm an old guy and I got gray hair. I just didn't get it. And I didn't watch it live. Like when it came out, I kind of binged it. And the characters aging really kind of bothered me also because it didn't make sense. Because to me, I watched it in like a month and a half as opposed to like 5 years or however long it was. So it just didn't track. I'm like, wait a minute. The last episode, this person now this person's got a mustache and a beard. In the last episode, they were like a baby faced kid. And then, then my wife and kids were like, well, some time has gone by, blah, blah, blah. So I had a hard time tracking with that. So that's my one's got to go.
I 100% agree. Stranger Things is a solid second. but like the back half of Game of Thrones just makes absolutely no sense. And they took it in a direction that makes absolutely no sense. And it just devolved into they were just doing it to doing it. And I'm a big fantasy guy, and it ruined the whole thing for me. Like the first bit, sure, right? Good stuff. And it just went straight downhill off a cliff. And I'm really interested to see how George R.R. Martin, or what's his name, whatever, the author takes the books, what direction he takes the books to end, if he ever actually gets to it, if he ever actually does it, because he might not. But I just think the end of it just completely ruins any of the good that Game of Thrones did.
George R.R. Martin.
But yeah, Stranger Things.
George R.R. Martin did say at one point that he gave them the ending, and that was his ending. I'm sure he's going to change it based on the backlash from where it's been, but that was at one point his ending. But through season 6, it's probably by far the best. There's nothing. I know you said Sopranos, and I love Sopranos too, but it through season 6 it was incredible, and it's just they were trying. The showrunners, Dan and Dave, were trying to rush to get to a Star Wars project that never happened. So they capped it and said, all right, we're doing whatever it was, 8 more episodes or 15 more episodes. And then the last 2 seasons, I don't hate the way that they ended it. I just hate how they got there. They went from a dialogue heavy show and world building to jumping between points that were like a year apart. And you're like, wait, how do we get from here to here in a scene? So I agree with.
I just think that if they had something that was that huge and that big, they owed it to the community and the world at large to do it right, and they didn't, and it just ruined the whole thing for me. And it's like when they did the Lethal Weapon TV series, and they killed off the one character, and it's like, but this is a prequel to the movie. Like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm done. You can't. No, I'm done.
Wow. That's funny. I forgot there was a Lethal Weapon TV series.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yeah. With that, let's go ahead and go to break. I want to be able to get to Waste Spots of the Week and Coal of the Week. So let's go ahead. We'll take a little break. We'll play some dad jokes that Solstice won't listen to. I'm going to keep saying that. And we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, it's Grunny Meowth, and you're listening to the Wayspotters podcast.
This is A is for Andis, Florida's most hated wayfarer. You're listening to the Wayspotters podcast.
This is Lizzie B. Darcy, and you're listening to the Wayspotters podcast.
Are you serious? This again? It's season 3.
I told my Roomba it was doing a great job. Now it won't stop sweeping me off my feet. My mirror and I aren't talking. We just can't see eye to eye. I joined a gym last month, and they kept asking me if I was ever coming back. I told them, look, I'm working out the details. I bought a candle that smells like motivation. Now this room smells like unfilled potential. So my goldfish watches me through the glass. It's probably wondering when I'm going to learn to swim in my problems. My wife told me I should be a little bit more spontaneous. So guess what? I scheduled it for next Thursday at 3:45 p.m. All right, so we're going to go to Waste Spot of the Week, number 1 right now.
This is Sarah Amanda, and here's some Wayspotters approved points of interest.
All right, so for Waste Spot of the Week, number 1, I'm going to turn it over to Spacebar. So we're going to pull up your Waste Spot of the Week. This was one that you posted, and we are going to let you explain to the people what they are seeing.
A couple weeks back, I went to the race in at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We were walking in, and I noticed the benches that were sitting there, and it had the engraving of Magic Mile, which is the nickname for the track in New Hampshire. There were too many people around. There was no chance before the race that I was going to be able to get a picture that didn't have a person in it. So after the race was over, went back to that spot and took a couple of pictures sponsors so I could submit. And this is actually the first one I've submitted that was outside of my area. There's not many spots at the track, so I was just looking for something that we could that I could submit. So next year when I go to the race, I'll have something to spin when I get up there. But it was kind of cool seeing how quick it got approved as well. Just 4 benches that are 2 of them back to back, and they both sit on each side of this large flower pot with a tree in the center of it. And it's right in the fan zone that's sitting there before the race. That is, the activity zone, I guess, where everybody goes, where all the sponsors are, and you've got the merch tents, and they got some interactive games for the kids and fans there. So
Amazing. I love it. I am a big NASCAR fan also. I live in Charlotte. I'm not originally from Charlotte, but I try to go to the Coke 600 whenever I can, and I try to go to the Roval whenever I can. I'm a big NASCAR fan, so this kind of hit me. I'm like, ooh, look at that. And it's a cool bench. And it's a bench. It's not a memorial bench, but it's a good way to get a bench in the game. And who doesn't want something to spin when you're sitting at a 400-mile, 300-mile race, and you can just stack up the gifts. So that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Chris, do you want to introduce Wayspot of the Week number 2 and have Solstice take that one?
Okay, let's.
Here is a beautiful example of a Wayspot of the Week, which may or may not be a 2-story mural.
So I had trouble nominating a business in my area called Gentleman's Row Barbershop. It was denied as a generic business, but it is very much not. They specialize in like vintage haircuts from the 1920s to 1960s. Couldn't get the business to go through, but I could get a beautiful mural called Skull Door Art. And it is a skull with a vintage haircut, a monocle on one eye, the American flag on a monocle on the other eye. It's a skull with a mustache. It looks all sorts of punk and funky and rockabilly, and it is on my walk home from work. So as I pass it, I get to spin it now, and I'm really proud of it.
This is a really, really good one. I love these. And this is a perfect example of how to get a business through without using the actual business. Because I know Jamal's had some issues with barbershops, and we've done a whole show on barbershops, and there's a whole post on the forums about barbershops.
Should be a place to socialize, though. 100%. Barbershops really are community centers. And I know, hearing my voice, you might not think that I frequent barbershops, but I love them.
Yep, 100%. They are, absolutely. And I tried to get one local in because it's where I go get my haircut, and there are people in there just hanging out every time I go in there. But it's convincing the reviewers that these are social places is not easy.
Correct. All right, speaking of things that are not easy and not good, we're gonna go to Cole. We have 2 Coles this week because we have 2 guests, so we're gonna go to Cole of the Week.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Oh no. Hey Jamal, I found some coal.
All right, so Coal of the Week this week, we have 2, but I'm going to have Spacebar take the first one because we have a special Coal for number 2. And I know that Solstice, you sent us this, but Spacebar, I want you to take a look at this. Seeing it now for the first time, and explain to the people out there who are listening to this on audio what it is and why it's called
the rat race. Description is just UPS warehouse, and it's an image of an inflatable rat outside of the warehouse with a couple people that are standing with signs. I'm assuming picketing at the UPS warehouse. So this looks like there's about 10 different reasons I can just eyeball real quick that this shouldn't have been accepted. First of all, you have people in there. Second of all, it's an inflatable rat that's not permanent, or I guess it would be distinct if it was an actual statue. But I
they're not really distinct in this area. So when you have union protesters protesting someone who's union busting, they will often use those inflatable rats. They are a common thing in the Chicagoland area.
Now, one thing I want to point out to this now, it's kind of small on the screen, but if you look to the lower left-hand corner by where the two people are standing, and there's that third sign that the furthest to the left, do you see that glare that's right there?
I didn't notice
Can you
that at
tell
first,
that
but I
this
can
was taken
see
from
that
the
now, yeah.
inside of a vehicle, and that's the glare? Can you see that?
Hold on.
And then if you look at the second picture, you can see the reflection of the dashboard with the
Please
caption of
accept. I love those ones
"Cause
too.
why
Please accept. Need
not?"
Pokestops.
Yeah. Need Pokestop.
These are the types of things that make Chris's eye twitch, and like, you know, you've seen that meme of the soccer manager where he's taking off the headset and he's throwing it. That's Chris.
I will say
whenever
though
he
that
sees something
Chris,
like this.
those reactions from
clearly
listening
taken from
when
inside
I
of the
first
vehicle.
started submitting and listened to this podcast completely changed how I took pictures, because I wouldn't take anything that you could see glare or anything like that, but I would take pictures from the car that looked good, and now I get out and I take a nice clear picture that's right there. So you definitely helped how I frame my pictures up for sure.
That's good. I
It's
appreciate
not that
that.
far.
I appreciate that.
Get out of your car. Yeah, it's not that far. Get out of your car. Great. So, yeah, an inflatable rat. Now, there's a whole lot of context behind this. So, Charlotte is not a big union town, but I know in the upper Midwest, they're big union towns. So people who are in those areas, when they see that rat, it has a whole connotation and they know what it means. But you got to remember, Wayfarer is a global game, and anything in this is why I don't like reviewing during the holiday season, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or Halloween, because inevitably, if you're listening to this podcast in the next month, you're going to get like a pumpkin or a turkey inflatable in someone's yard. And it's like, dude, stop. So this is a good lesson going into that season that don't do this. All right, let's pull up the second one, Chris. Let's go to the bonus one because this one is special. This one is fun. So you guys know one of the bits on the show is I like to bring up things in German and have Chris read it and have him stumble through it. And occasionally we'll throw some Spanish and Portuguese in there. But Solstice, Darker Solstice, let us know that they have some German speaking in their background. So
I took it in high school.
What you're
I
seeing...
can't translate it though. Not
but you can read it. So, all right. So first of all, before you read it in German, tell us in English for the people who are listening, who aren't watching, what they're looking at, and then go into the German part, please.
It looks like some sort of utility station that's covered in graffiti. It is green with black and white graffiti on it and does not look particularly notable in any way.
All right, now read us the title and description, please.
Transformatorenstation zwischen Oldendorf und Badenstedt. Dieser Pokestop befindet sich auf einer freiflächigen, ländlichen Umgebung gut zum Spaziergang und Radtouren.
Exactly. Yes. That was good, Chris. What do you think? How was that pronunciation? What do you think?
That is miles better than anything I have ever done or will ever do.
Right. Now, we have some German listeners out there. Friend of the show, Kroner, who's in the German Discord, German Wayfarer Discord. And there's a link to it in our show notes. So, Kroner, please write in and let us know or comment in the Discord on Solstice's pronunciation. Now, Solstice, can you read the supporting information, please?
Der Standort ist nah an der Straße und an deinem Schüttenweg somit sind Radtouren und Spaziergänge dort sehr begehrt. Es gibt viele Natur, Wälder und Felder.
That just sounded so good. That sounded so, I don't know what you said, but that sounded so good.
I mean, I can tell it's cold because Pokestops in the description.
Yes. Okay. There you go. Now I will say this, if you're just looking at the pictures, it's cold, but those are pretty decent pictures. I mean, if it was something else, you know, I might be inclined to take a look at it, but, okay. Thank you two so much for joining us on this episode of the Wayspotters podcast. We really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate the fact that you two have kind of jumped in with both feet, both in our Discord, the Wayfarer discussion Discord, and like anybody who's really smart, you're just lurking on the forums because I think that's the best way to go. As opposed to going in and taking a pounding. So I want to give you two the last word before we sign off. See if you have anything else you want to say to the folks out there, or say to Niantic who may be listening.
Just appreciate
We'll start
you guys
with
letting me come on.
you,
Appreciate you guys doing this
Spacebar.
podcast.
Anything
Like
you
I
want to
said
say?
a couple times in here, there's a lot of pointers that you've made in the short time that I've been listening, that has helped my perspective a ton. So I think any additional information we can get out to newer people is great for us, and different resources. So I think that on the Niantic side, or like probably on the Pokemon side, right? If there's any additional information that they can get into the game, like a tutorial or something like that to start. And I know you guys have talked about that in past episodes, but I think that would have been huge for me, with something that you actually have to interact with and can't just click through. Something that makes it so you have to read and learn. Because I'm guilty myself of saying, "Oh, I got this," and I'll move forward, and you don't actually know all the information. So thank you guys for what you do, and having me on to just give my little part. So.
Fantastic. Darker Solstice, I'll give you the last word.
Is this where I plug where I can be found elsewhere, or is that later?
Absolutely. Yes. Plug away. Please do.
I can be found at Darker Solstice on Tumblr, on Plurk, on Reddit, Unsplash. And if you really like the sound of my voice, you should listen to the podcast How Much in Bison Dollars, which can be found on FGC Radio or wherever you get your podcasts. I voice the character Melody Sinclair. It's a great time, a little hectic, but hey, we love it.
Will you drop that link into our Discord, and I will put it in the show notes, so when people are reading the show notes, they can just click on the link and go right to where they can find that?
Yeah, I'll drop the Spotify link to the show, because it airs
Perfect.
live
Awesome.
on
We'd
FGC
love
Radio,
to-
and if you miss the broadcast, Spotify is the best place for it.
Gotcha. We'd love to help you promote that, so we appreciate it.
I do not.
Spacebar, do you have
Pokemon
anything that
Professors
you want to
Network
plug?
Discord, I guess that's where I'm chatting the most right now.
Yes. Love it. Love it. All right, Chris, you got anything before I sign us off?
I do not. Thank you both for joining us. This has been a great show. Love it.
Yep. All right, and that's it. That's going to do it for this episode of the Wayspotters podcast, episode number 195. Now, you know I can't end an episode without giving some love to the people who make this show possible. First up, our incredible executive producer, KatettheKonz. You rock. And a huge thank you to all of our patrons. We love you very much. And of course, we got to give a special shout out to our show historian, Maddie G, for keeping the record straight since day one. If you liked what you heard, here's how you can stay connected with us. Number one, you can follow us on socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Wayspotters, at Wayspotters Podcast, and I make Wayspots. We love interacting with you, so don't be shy. Come say hi. You could also go to our Linktree. So if you go to Linktree and type in Wayspotters Podcast, it'll show you the link to our Blue Sky and all of the other places that you can find us. Number two, check out our website. It's new and improved, and it's been updated. Wayspotters.com. From there, you can download episodes, send us a message, or even shoot us an email at wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. Number three, we have got a hotline. That's right. Call us 704-426-3710. Leave a voicemail. You might hear yourself on a future episode of the show. Or if you're feeling brave, you can send us a message directly from Twitter. And yes, I'm only going to call it Twitter. Now, some of you may be watching this on YouTube, as we are back on YouTube every single week. For those of you who are not, please go and visit our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/@WayspottersPodcast. And Chris, while the good people are there, what should they do?
Click like on this video. Be sure to click subscribe, and also click the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video.
Number four, if you want to support the show, the best way to do it is by joining the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon. For as little as $1 US a month, you will unlock access to our Discord, where you can hang out with the fans and creators from all the shows across the network, including Special Conditions, Gotta Watch 'Em All, Purified Podcast, Good Morning Jodo, Sleep It Off, After Dark Cry, Lured Up, and of course your favorite, Wayspotters. It's a fantastic community, and we love to have you there. Now, the best part about that is every single Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we have a patron exclusive Zoom call where anyone who's a patron on the network can get on the Zoom call, and we try to get as many of the hosts on that call as we can, but it's every Monday night. And so if you have a favorite host on the network and you want to talk to them one-on-one, jump on the Zoom call. I'm usually there, depending on what time Chris is working. He's there, Ken's there, Adam's there, Justin's there, Luis is there, Lane is there. So all of the hosts, we're all there. So we really mean it when we say we are like of the people, so you can talk to us. There's some podcasts you listen to, and there's no chance you're ever going to talk to the host or the hosts. Monday night, if you're one of our patrons, you can come on our Zoom call, and we hang out for like an hour, hour and a half, and just shoot the breeze and talk about whatever it is, and we really want to get to know our community. We've been doing this Zoom call for about 5 years now, and I don't see us stopping anytime soon. The more, the better. Come and join us. And finally, the simplest way to help us grow is give us a rating on the app you're listening to right now. 5 stars really help out the show, and if your podcatcher allows you to leave a review, do it. One of us will read it right here on the show. So that's all we've got this week. Thank you so much for listening and being the best part of the Wayspotters family. We'll be back next week with more stories, more nominations, and more fun. And remember, what's a few meters between friends?